Late January, there was no explosion, no single moment that could be called the beginning. There was only water. It came slowly, silently, patiently. And by the time the people of Alcácer do Sal understood what was happening, their town had no way out. You're watching global weather disasters. We don't tell stories of disasters as sudden accidents, because the truth is, disasters rarely arrive all at once. They come step by step, until no one can stop them anymore. Mid-January, southern Portugal began to see rain. Nothing extreme, nothing alarming, just rain, falling steadily, day after day. On the first day, no one worried. By the third day, the ground felt heavier. By the fifth day, the soil was no longer dry, and then the ground could absorb no more water. Late January. The Sado River began to change, not with anger, but with certainty. The water level rose centimeter by centimeter, too slow to trigger panic, but too fast to turn back. Upstream, reservoirs were reaching critical levels. Decisions were made quietly. Floodgates were opened, not because they wanted to, but because if they didn't, the consequences would be far worse. And then, the river crossed the barrier. Water poured into Alcácer do Sal. Streets disappeared first, then cars, then the ground floors of centuries-old homes. Water rose past knees, past waists, and beyond 1 meter. The town didn't sink in an hour. It sank piece by piece, block by block, street by familiar street.
Desculpa, bloqueios da câmara. Há aqui alguma hipótese de ir ali buscar ordem que está ali que é.
Within less than 48 hours, a state of emergency was activated. A nursing home was evacuated in the night. Elderly residents left in silence as the water continued rising behind them. Pumps ran without pause. The sound never stopped. But the water didn't care about human effort. It didn't retreat. It stayed, as if waiting for what would come next. The most frightening part was not the flooding itself. It was the fact that everything unfolded exactly as physics predicted. Days of rain saturated the soil. Saturated soil sent every new drop straight into the river. Dam releases increased downstream flow. But that water had nowhere to go, because another force was already in place. And this was not just one town. In a short span of time, Portugal was struck by repeated unstable weather systems. The ground had no time to dry. The rivers had no time to fall. In early February, a new warning appeared. Storm Leonardo. A new name for already exhausted land. In a warming world, air holds more moisture. Weather systems carry more energy. And the margin for error keeps shrinking. This disaster did not begin the day the water crossed the banks. It began with rains no one feared, with slowly rising numbers no one questioned, with cities built for a climate that no longer exists. Modern floods don't need drama, they only need time. This disaster did not begin on the day the water crossed the banks. It didn't start with flooded streets or emergency sirens or evacuations in the night. It started much earlier. It began with rain that felt ordinary, rain that didn't look dangerous, rain that appeared on forecasts and was quickly forgotten. It began with numbers that rose slowly, millimeter by millimeter, centimeter by centimeter, too gradual to alarm anyone, too quiet to demand attention. It began with systems doing exactly what they were designed to do, just not in the world they now exist in. Cities like Alcácer do Sal were built for a different climate, a climate with clearer seasons, with longer breaks between extremes, with time to recover. That climate no longer exists. Today's floods don't need violence. They don't need spectacle. They don't need a single catastrophic moment. They only need persistence. They need rain that doesn't stop, rivers that don't fall, ground that never dries, and decisions that arrive just a little too late. What makes modern flooding so dangerous is not how dramatic it looks, but how normal it feels right up until it isn't. By the time water reaches the streets, the disaster is already complete. The lesson here is not about one town. It's about how we define risk, how we respond to slow-moving threats, how often we ignore warning signs because they don't feel urgent. Because the most dangerous disasters are not the ones that shock us. They are the ones that give us time to look away. Modern floods don't need drama. They only need time. If this video made you stop and think, subscribe and share. Because understanding disasters before they happen is the only real way to stay ahead of them. Thank you for watching Global Weather Disasters. Remember, disasters rarely arrive suddenly. They come quietly, slowly, until there is no way back.